In the heart of New York City, where time moves fast and people move faster, sometimes the quietest moments are the ones that change everything. This is a story about music, about timing, about two strangers who weren't looking for love, but found something just as rare. Set against the falling leaves of Central Park, it's a reminder that even in the busiest places on Earth, the right person can still make you stop, breathe, and listen. Welcome to Autumn Leaves in Central Park, New York City. Autumn. The city hums with its usual rhythm. Taxis honking, subway brakes screeching, people rushing to be anywhere but here. But inside Central Park, it's like the world slows down. Leaves the color of fire drift from the trees like tiny dancers, landing softly on the worn paths below. The air is crisp, touched with that subtle scent of cinnamon from the food carts on Fifth Avenue. And there, right near Bethesda Fountain, sits a man with a weathered guitar and a face that's seen a few too many winters. His name is Eli. He's not the kind of guy you notice at first. His coat is old, his boots scuffed. But when he plays, the city changes. His music wraps around you. Warm, honest, a little bit broken, like the first light on a cold morning. People pass by without hearing him. But the ones who do stop, they stay. Even just for a minute. Claire never planned on stopping. She was on her usual route. Coffee in one hand, phone in the other, Bluetooth in her ear. She was halfway through a call about Q3 projections when something made her pause. A song. It wasn't flashy, no lyrics, just simple chords drifting through the autumn breeze. A melody that felt familiar, like something her heart remembered, even if her mind didn't. She looked over, saw him, just a guy and a guitar. But there was something about the way he played, as if every note was holding on to something he didn't want to let go of. She stood there longer than she meant to. Then, almost sheepishly, she pulled $1 from her coat pocket and dropped it in his open guitar case. Their eyes met, just for a second. He gave her a quiet nod. She nodded back. No words exchanged. But something passed between them, soft as falling leaves. The next day, she came that way again. And again, the next. Maybe it was just the shortcut. Maybe it was something else. But autumn had arrived in Central Park, and something was beginning to change. It started becoming a pattern. Every afternoon, Claire found herself walking the long way back to the office, through the winding paths of Central Park. She told herself it was just for the fresh air, a break from the screen, from the meetings, from the endless hustle. But truthfully, it was the music. Eli was always there. Same bench, same guitar, same quiet presence, like a secret the city hadn't fully discovered yet. He never played the same song twice, but every melody felt like it was written just for that moment, for that day. Sometimes hopeful, sometimes aching, always honest. Claire kept her distance at first. She wasn't the kind of person who made time for strangers. Her world was built on goals and deadlines, on calendars and color-coded blocks. But slowly, the wall between them started to lower. A little more eye contact, a few more dollars in the guitar case. And then, one day, a hello. "Hi," she said, like it caught her off guard. Eli looked up and smiled. "Hey." That was it. But it was enough. The next day, she asked his name. He asked hers the day after that. They didn't talk much, just small things. The weather, her shoes, his guitar. But there was something in the silence between them that said more than words could. A kind of comfort, like when two people sit together and don't feel the need to fill the air. Claire started to linger. She brought coffee once, then again. She stayed longer. Sometimes she'd sit on the bench nearby, pretending to answer emails while secretly listening to every chord he strummed. Eli noticed, of course. He wasn't in a hurry. He had nowhere to be. But there was something about Claire, her presence, her restlessness, that made him want to stay a little longer each day too. As the leaves began to fade from orange to brown, and the chill crept deeper into the air, something warm had started to grow. Slowly, quietly. And neither of them could quite name it yet, but they both felt it. In the rhythm of the park, in the spaces between conversations, in the music that only they seemed to hear. The days were getting shorter. The breeze had a sharper edge. But Eli kept playing, and Claire kept coming. It was no longer coincidence, no longer a detour. It had become her ritual, a secret piece of peace she carved out from the chaos of her world. The moment she stepped into the park, her shoulders dropped, her pace slowed, and the rest of New York faded into the background. One Thursday afternoon, Claire sat beside him for the first time. No coffee, no phone, just her and him, and the sound of leaves crunching under distant footsteps. "Ever wonder what life would be like if you took a different turn?" she asked, out of nowhere. Eli didn't look at her. He just kept strumming. "All the time," he said softly. "That's probably why I play." Claire smiled faintly. "I used to want to write books. Before, deadlines, clients, bills." "You still can," Eli replied, his voice almost lost in the breeze. "The stories don't go anywhere. They just wait for you." She looked at him then, really looked. There was a calm in his face, the kind that only comes from letting go of what the world expects of you. She envied it. She didn't even know his last name, but she felt more seen in that moment than she had in months. "Your music," she said quietly, "feels like something I forgot." Eli glanced over, his fingers pausing on the strings. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about it." For a long while, they sat in silence. Not awkward, not forced, just present. Then Eli began to play again, slower this time. A new melody, one she hadn't heard before. There was something gentle in it, something fragile. Claire listened with her eyes closed, letting each note settle into the spaces inside her she didn't even realize were empty. She didn't ask if he wrote it. She didn't have to. She knew. It was a song about finding something unexpected, a song about not being alone, even when you are. And as the golden light filtered through the thinning trees, Claire realized something. She hadn't checked her phone once. By mid-November, the trees in Central Park were almost bare. The vibrant reds and golds had faded to soft grays and browns. Winter was on its way. Claire felt it in more ways than one. She hadn't told Eli yet, but a decision was looming. A big one. Her boss had offered her a promotion, senior VP, a role she'd been working toward for years. The catch? It came with a one-way ticket to San Francisco. She should have been thrilled. But all she could think about was this park. And him. Eli, meanwhile, had received an invitation of his own. A music producer had passed by one day, heard him play, and handed him a business card. "Showcase at the Bowery, Thursday night. We're always looking for raw talent. It was the kind of break he used to dream about back when he was a Juilliard student with plans and ambition, before everything unraveled, before life knocked the wind out of him. Now, both of them stood at the edge of something new, something uncertain. Claire finally told him one chilly afternoon. She didn't look at him when she said it, just stared at the pavement. "I'm moving to San Francisco," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Eli didn't answer right away. "Is that what you want?" he asked. "I don't know anymore," she said honestly. "I thought it was." He nodded slowly, fingers tracing the edge of his guitar. "I got offered a showcase," he said, almost as an afterthought. "First time someone's taken me seriously in a long time." Claire looked up. "That's amazing." "Yeah," he smiled. "Terrifying, too." They sat in silence again, but this time, it felt heavier, like the pause before a goodbye. It was a strange thing, falling into something without meaning to. They had no labels, no promises, just shared time, shared stories, shared silence. But somehow, that had been enough to change everything. And now, the season was changing again. The leaves had turned, so had their hearts. But neither of them knew what came next. The air was colder now. You could see your breath in the morning. Holiday lights were beginning to appear in windows, but in Central Park, it was quiet. The bench near Bethesda Fountain sat empty. No guitar, no music, just wind, whispering through the branches. Claire hadn't been back since the conversation. She'd been packing boxes, finalizing contracts, preparing for a life 2,900 miles away. On paper, everything was perfect. But her heart felt unfinished. On her last day in New York, she found herself walking to the park one final time. Not because she planned to, because she needed to. The leaves were mostly gone now. Just a few stubborn golds clung to the branches. The sky was soft gray, the kind that made the city feel like it was holding its breath. She reached the fountain. Eli was there. Not playing, not busking, just sitting, as if he'd been waiting, or hoping. They looked at each other for a long moment. "I didn't think you'd come," he said. "I wasn't sure I would," she replied. He gave her a half smile. "Me neither." Claire stepped closer, pulling her coat tighter around her. "I leave tomorrow," she said. "I know. I think I'm scared," she admitted. Eli looked out across the park, then back at her. "Me too." And then, silence. Not empty, not sad, just real. "I never planned on meeting anyone," she said. "Me neither. But I'm glad I did." He nodded. "I wrote something," Eli said, pulling a folded piece of paper from his coat pocket. "It's not a song, just something I wanted to say. But I'm better at writing than speaking." He handed it to her. She didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, she sat beside him. For a while, they didn't talk. They just watched the last few leaves fall, drifting in slow spirals to the ground, like time itself had softened. Eventually, she stood. "I don't know what happens next," she said. "Then don't decide right now," he replied. "Some things are meant to grow slow." Claire smiled, eyes glassy. "I'll write to you," she said. "I'll write back." She took a few steps, then turned. "Play something?" she asked. Eli smiled, picked up his guitar. As she walked away, toward whatever future waited, his music followed her, the same way it always had, and in the middle of a city that never stops moving. Two hearts had paused long enough to hear each other,